This is episode 23 of On the DOT, your go-to source for information about the Indiana Department of Transportation. Each month we take you on a deep dive into the inner workings of the agency and answer your burning questions about roads, bridges, and everything in between. On this month's episode, we're answering your frequently asked questions with INDOT Customer Service Team members Lisa Wisely and Kelcie Bishop. Thanks for listening and enjoy the latest episode of On the DOT. So we're here to talk customer service, and sometimes it feels like we get asked the same questions over and over and over again. Am I right?
You're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like, everybody has frequently asked questions sections on their website, and I feel like we need to add that to ours as well. But for now, until we can get that done, that's what I have you guys for. So before we jump in and start actually talking nuts and bolts, kind of give yourselves an introduction, let the people know your roles at INDOT, and we'll start with you, Lisa. How about that?
Fine. I'm Lisa Wisely. I'm the Customer Satisfaction Manager for the state. I manage the Transportation Services Call Center.
Which is not a small job, by the way.
It is definitely very busy.
My name is Kelcie Bishop, and I'm our knowledge administrator for the call center. So I write the protocols that our call center uses to make sure that, anything that's reported to them, they're getting to the right personnel, and to make sure that they're getting the correct information that needs to be gathered to get that issue escalated.
Okay. And Kelcie, you've also heard her voice on the podcast previously. When we used to do our recordings for our intro and outro, Kelcie did one a couple episodes back. So thank you for doing that again as well. So we'll just jump right in. What we want to talk about today is frequently asked questions, and you all are the experts on this. I customer service person in our district, that's what I am. But I can't say that I'm in the weeds nearly as much as you guys are. So what are some of the big things we hear about? And what are those knowledge articles that we find ourselves most frequently using?
Well, at this point, our top reported concern every month is traffic signal maintenance.
Oh my gosh, traffic signals. I tell you what, I could tell you story after story after story about that, but continue.
It is. It actually is stunning how many we get a month, and it is our top service. The information that we need to be able to gather from the customer is a lot more in depth than what a customer would think.
So before you go on, I don't mean
Sure.
to interrupt your train of thought. Let's unpack that a little bit, because someone listening may not know exactly what you mean by that, but we really do have to get a lot of information about these traffic signals, like anything traffic related, really. We have to have a lot of information. So can you kind of unpack what you just said and what we need?
Absolutely. We need the location, what direction of travel the issue is being reported at, the time of day that the issue is being reported, and what is the action. Is the signal timing, does customer believe it should be longer, shorter, signal actually malfunctioning, bulb out? There's just a multitude of information that we need to gather, which, a lot of times, because a customer just knows there's a problem, they get, some get annoyed that we've had to ask so many questions, but it truly does help our traffic engineers investigate, identify, and make a determination if there is something going on with the traffic signal timing.
Yeah, and it goes back to, there are so many different moving parts to everything we do. Filling a pothole may not even be just as simple as filling a pothole.
Right.
And so we have to ask those questions in order to make sure we're doing it. I love what they said today. It's not necessarily the light bulb. It could be the wiring within the light bulb that's causing the outage.
Exactly.
So there's 1,000 different things it could be. So that's why we ask so many questions.
Absolutely. We want to be as detailed as we possibly can to help the investigation and result in a resolution. So that is our highest service, and It actually has been now for, it tops construction, it tops potholes.
That's
It's
crazy,
shocking
too.
when it's storming. We always have,
Yeah.
increased contacts for traffic signal issues. The wind blowing. It's truly just, it can be nothing, and it messes with signals. So they're temperamental.
They really are. And I think of there are places where we have signals that can be controlled remotely, and if the timing's just off on them, somebody can reset it from their computer, but it's a matter of getting that to them and making sure they have the right information. Kelcie, I wanted to ask you about the knowledge articles specifically related to traffic signal maintenance and things like that. I know that with there being so many different levels of service and so many different things it could be, how do those evolve as we start to move forward and learn more things about what customers are reporting to us?
Yeah, so originally what we did is we had customer service personnel that worked in our regions that we called districts, and we asked them for a list of the frequently asked questions that they were receiving in the beginning. And then I worked with every single person that was what we call a service owner, which is like a director over a department statewide within INDOT, and asked them and their regional district counterparts that were subject matter experts about how we go about finding a solution to those problems. So if it was traffic signal maintenance, that's a service, right? And there are questions within that service, like, is a traffic signal or a crosswalk malfunctioning? Is the bulb out? Is the traffic stoplight crooked, or is it dangling from the wire and it's about to fall? There's a variety of topics within traffic signal maintenance. Then I talked to those subject matter experts about what we do to fix those issues, what items we need to gather, like Lisa said, the direction of travel and things like that. And then from there, who needs to be notified of the issue? We also further determine the urgency of an issue. So, of course, if a traffic signal is reported to be, almost off of its wire and dangling and danger of falling onto motorists, that's an emergency. So we would call what is our on-call center, it's called the Traffic Management Center, to notify them so we can get someone on call to go out there and fix that immediately. Issues that are not an immediate emergency, like maybe someone is disgruntled because they feel they need 30 seconds more for like an eastbound travel lane on a traffic signal because they feel like it's too short. Well, that doesn't cause a safety concern, so we may not need to have someone on call immediately go change that traffic signal, but we will get to it within an agreed upon amount of time. And so those knowledge articles tell us how to do that. And then also they do provide some direction to our customer service personnel on what kind of urgency to select. So a great example for traffic signal maintenance is if a traffic signal light bulb on a turn signal is out. If it's a yellow bulb or a red left turn, that's an emergency because those people don't know that they need to stop and they are going to cross into oncoming traffic. So the knowledge article for that service tells people to increase the urgency, and then also will provide additional direction on, calling our traffic management center and sending a case to our regional customer service personnel called resolution specialists. And then they work with our traffic signal people that work in the districts to make sure that work was corrected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back to something else that you said in your explanation there. You mentioned, a traffic signal like a bulb out or one hanging versus one that somebody has requested a little more time for. And that's two different service owners as well.
Yeah.
Like people, I think the general public doesn't realize that we also like there's a maintenance component to traffic issues like signals and signs and things like that. But there's also an engineering component to it as well. And we have to assign them appropriately. And so how do we know from the call center standpoint how to assign those appropriate? I mean, obviously those of us in the district, we work with those people on a daily basis, but give the customer some assurance that we know that it's going to the right place every single time.
Yeah, in those knowledge articles, they actually drive us to ask specific questions, which help us determine if it's going to be traffic signal, like engineering, like technical services, or if it's going to be maintenance, or if it's even not going to be an INDOT issue, like if a power outage is occurring in a location and someone calls us and says, hey, the traffic signal's out. Well, our knowledge protocols that the customer service team uses drive our call center personnel to ask questions like, what do you mean it's out? Is it out because of a power outage? Is it because that there's some sort of weather event that just occurred and the power's out? Or are you saying that just the traffic signal itself is affected? And those questions then show us, if it's power outage, okay, well that's a utility issue. We don't have any authority over utilities, but depending on the urgency of the area, like maybe it's a really busy intersection, we still may coordinate with our district personnel to put like temporary stop signs out. If it's going to be a very long power outage, if it's not though, if it's like a 10-15 minute power outage and the light's blinking, we will still allow that light to just automatically reset itself. So those knowledge article questions will tell people, hey, ask this question. If they answer in this manner, you need to refer to this new knowledge article. And those knowledge articles drive what service is associated with a customer's request. And those services then drive the amount of time each department has to complete the work that is requested.
Yep, absolutely. Think of it kind of like as a flow chart. If this, then that. If this, then no. Kind of those types of things. We're coming up on our first break here, and when we come back, we'll move away from the traffic signal maintenance issue because this is a frequently asked questions episode. So we'll get into some of our other frequently asked questions, but we'll be right back with more on the DOT.
The holiday shopping season is upon us, and your Indiana State Police want to remind you about a few important safety tips to help ensure that you and your family stay safe. Criminals often roam the parking lots looking for unlocked vehicles or expensive packages. Try to shop during daylight hours or shop with a friend. While walking to your vehicle, stay alert. If you see suspicious activity near your vehicle, turn around and return to the store. Always make sure you secure your packages in your trunk or keep them out of sight, and always lock your doors.
In 2019, distracted driving was a factor in nearly 2,000 injury crashes in Indiana, killing more than 20 people. To make Hoosier roads safer, hands-free while driving is now the law. That means you can't have a mobile device in your hand while driving. You can still use a phone or tablet in your car, but you must use a speakerphone, headset, Bluetooth, or other hands-free technology. Go hands-free. Learn about the new law at handsfreeindiana.com.
Did you know that INDOT also has an eye on the sky? INDOT inspects nearly 120 aviation facilities in Indiana, including seaplane bases and heliports. To learn more about these and other multimodal programs, go to multimodal.indot.in.gov. We're more than just Hoosier roads.
Welcome back to On the DOT. Sitting here with Lisa Wisely and Kelcie Bishop, the Transportation Services Call Center, out of our central office. And I got to just take a minute and say we had a unique opportunity to all be together for one of the first times in forever since COVID, and so I'm excited to be here. We are in Indianapolis, which is not our normal recording location, but very excited to have everyone together. Maybe the world's kind of normalizing just a little bit.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. So we were talking during the break about our top 5 issues, and that's kind of what we're working on for this episode is our frequently asked questions. What are our top 5 statewide issues? We mentioned traffic signal maintenance, and there's a ton to it. I mean, it's amazing how much there is. So what are some of the other issues that we hear about statewide?
Seasonally, we're in construction season.
Oh
Construction
my
work
gosh.
zone maintenance management is our second frequently asked topic.
So I have to stop you right there, and I have to ask this really awkward question. You guys are handling all of the customer service for the North Split, correct?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, how is that?
It has been actually not as bad as you would expect. Mostly it's the congestion that has been created because of those 200-some thousand vehicles that had to find alternate routes.
And many of them through downtown, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we know that 465 during peak hours is a parking lot. Those cars had to go somewhere. Construction is never convenient. We drive these, roads as well, but we can promise you that when the project is complete, it's going to be so smooth and much more safe and, fresh. So we're really excited about, seeing these projects obviously get started, and that's an 18-month project, so we've got a little while. But we did tour the project today, and they are making some great progress. Lots and lots of bridges to replace.
Yeah, very cool. Some of the engineering on this as well, like the 9-span flyover bridge he was talking about.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They say that was the biggest one in the state.
Yep.
So, I mean, some modern marvels of engineering on this project for sure.
Absolutely,
So-
absolutely.
So that kind of dovetails, though, into, construction. That's one of our top 5. It's number 2 on our list of frequently asked questions. So when people are calling in about construction projects, what are they typically, what do you hear?
We get asked often, when will the project be complete? There are questions with people wanting additional signage. Pavement markings aren't making sense. Why have you closed this road, this ramp? Just a multitude of what is happening type projects. Type questions. We also are managing the I-69 Section 6 project. There are a lot more specific questions for that. There obviously are a lot of roads that are being affected that are local. So we're having, questions about the local roads.
School bus routes.
Yes, bus routes, businesses that, want either additional signage or
Access.
some kind of question that is specific to the location.
And that's hard to do. Like when people call in and ask for those additional things, like additional signage, bus routes, things like that. For them, it's a very simple, easy ask, and sometimes we have to say no on those things, and they don't understand why. I mean, the sheer amount of coordination on things like that to get those things done, it probably has to go through 10 different channels at minimum.
Yeah, there is a lot of coordination. One of the things that we're also managing the Sherman-Minton project,
Wow.
Sherman-Minton Bridge rehabilitation, and one of the concerns that we have received there is due to the maintenance of traffic on I-265, I-65, and I-64, and that had been reported multiple times that one of the we closed 2 lanes to help it was essentially to help manage
The detour.
the traffic for the
Yeah.
detour. And all of those complaints, all of those questions, concerns get escalated to the project team. They are making changes. The design engineer is making changes for that, those routes to add safety, features. So it's really great when we see customers that are calling, contacting us with questions, concerns, and it's awesome when we can respond back to them. Thank you for reporting this, and we are going to make adjustments. So I think that people appreciate being heard.
Yeah, for sure. And what we talk about, like with the I-69, with the North Split, with Sherman-Minton, those are common questions on all of the projects, even if they're not the big, huge. I like to call them our premier projects, but they're not really. Don't take that out of context, please. But anyway, they are. They're big projects
They're
that are very
big.
visible.
Right.
But that's. All those questions are very common on any project that we have, because even you may not be inconvenienced to the level of Sherman-Minton or I-69, but even in a small town where we have a bridge rehab going on, a 2-span bridge or a 1-span bridge, it's closed for 6 months. You're gonna have people that are inconvenienced, and while from a statewide standpoint, from a bigger picture standpoint, that's bigger. Maybe the Sherman-Minton, it's over the Ohio River, it's ever how many cars a day in the Louisville area. It's just as important to put someone in Holland, Indiana. Hey, that's my route to work. And so we do take all of these seriously.
And, I can definitely vouch for that. There was a woman that was inconvenienced by a bridge on in a small area, and she contacted us to find out when the bridge was opening, and it was opening that Friday, and she was overjoyed because she had to go around it every time that she wanted to get to work and get home. So absolutely, every project has an effect on the public.
And that's when you call in, we answer all these questions for you, and we try to get as much done as we can. Kelcie, do you have something to add?
I was going to add that I find that rural projects are actually very interesting because the amount of coordination with the local community seems to be more. Of course, major projects they're not only required to have public involvement, but they desperately desire to have public involvement because of the level of exposure that project causes.
Yeah, it's very visible.
Yeah, but these rural projects are interesting because they face issues that major projects maybe don't experience. For example, I know in our Vincent's area just this year, we had some bridge and large culvert work that we had to adjust because we were cutting off access to an area during harvest season. And farmers needed to access that road in order to get their harvest, delivered appropriately. So the local community worked with us, and we adjusted our detour to provide access to those people. And there was another woman, I think she lived in French Lick.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about with this one.
Yeah.
It's US 150 between Shoals and French Lick, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It was a major project. We don't have enough right-of-way in the area to put a temporary bridge or something like that in. And the detour, let's just be honest, the detour route, using state roads, it took them 50 miles out of their way. It was a major inconvenience.
Yeah, but that woman wasn't ignored.
Not at
Her concerns were provided to the project team, and I myself saw, I coordinated with you specifically on her needs, and we double-checked and triple-checked even that there was absolutely no other official route that we could provide. And I saw how many hours were spent just trying to see if there was an alternate route we could provide just for that woman. So it was very interesting for me to see that, because while I do perform a lot of work for mostly major projects in coordination with communications of those teams, our district customer service staff do work the rural projects more often. And for me to get to see those nuances, it really shows that it doesn't matter how large the project is. It could be that we're replacing a drainage culvert underneath a roadway, or we're ripping out a bridge and putting a new one in. We care about the local community for every project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo that same sentiment. I think everyone on our customer service team would as well. So we're going to take our final break here. And when we come back, we're going to try to rapid fire through 3, 4, and 5 of our frequently asked questions, because we get this group together, you're going to have a long podcast. But we'll be right back with more on the DOT.
Somebody needs to report that pothole.
Why aren't they mowing the grass in the median?
When are they going to fix this road?
You know there's an easy way to get answers to those questions and report the problems you see on interstates, U.S. routes, and state roads. Dial 1-855-INDOT-4U to talk to a live customer service professional. That's 855-463-6848. Hate talking on the phone or have a fear of human interaction? We've got you covered. Go online to INDOT4U.com to use our Report a Concern tool. You can also report a concern through our INDOT mobile app for iPhone and Android. If you've got questions, we've got answers at 855-INDOT4U or online at INDOT4U.com.
At the Indiana Department of Transportation, it's not all work and no play. INDOT offers employees unmatched work-life balance, competitive benefits, and perks like a 37.5-hour work week, paid holidays, paid time off, career paths, and tuition reimbursement. Entry-level positions start at $19 per hour. CDL drivers can earn even more, so stop grinding and start thriving. Go to INDOTjobs.com or text INDOT Careers to 468-311 to apply now.
Did you know that Indiana is the crossroads of America for railroads too? Our Rail Programs Office conducts around 1,500 rail crossing inspections every year to make sure conditions and signage meet federal and state requirements. To learn more, visit multimodal.indot.in.gov. We're more than just Hoosier Roads.
And welcome back to our final segment of On the DOT. And this has been such a great conversation because we don't often talk about these issues. Like, they are our biggest issues, but they don't get a whole lot of public credence, I guess. Is that the right word? Credence? You don't hear about them a ton. Yeah. So I'm sitting here trying to sound smart. So anyway, we're going to kind of go through our last 3 issues kind of rapidly because they are simple issues. And then we're going to talk a little bit about maybe how customer service handles winter operations. So just real quickly, let's boom. What are our last 3 issues, the last 3 in our top 5?
Dead animal removal, litter and debris on the roadway, beside the roadway, and then roadway maintenance issues.
Yep.
Okay. And so dead animal, that's pretty cut and dry. I mean, I think you probably see that more in the rural communities than you do, up here in Indianapolis. But then again, I bet you see a lot of it in Indianapolis too.
Urban deer are a thing.
Urban deer.
Well, and domestic animals. I mean, people's pets.
Boy, that's such a sad situation.
It's amazing to me how many live animal requests we have gotten. And, that's not something that INDOT normally does, but we do always call the Traffic Management Center. And usually there's a police officer in the area that does go and try to help the animal before it does get hit.
Yeah.
We've done that several times.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I-69 opened, Section 4 between Crane and Bloomington. Mm-hmm. That was one of our top issues there because, it was a long stretch of interstate in a very rural area. Mm-hmm. And, while they were working on it, the animals got used to no traffic being there. And so once traffic opened, it was just all of a sudden, we've got lots of traffic on this road, and so I know deer hits became a big thing. Turkey hits were a big thing as well, believe it or not. But we do get calls for those, so if you call INDOT and say, hey, there's a dead deer. Now, there is an important distinction I think we need to talk with the general public about. Is that deer in the road? Is it on the side of the road, or is it in someone's yard?
Correct.
And so can you kind of unpack those for me real fast?
Absolutely. If the deer is on the road, it's an emergency. We need to talk to our on-call people and get the animal removed. If it is on the, say, on the shoulder, that is a different urgency, but still, a higher priority than if it's in someplace in the right of way. So in the ditch, off of the road. So that detail and how large the animal is shockingly important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If a deer's in someone's yard, however, we do not remove those.
And then let's unpack that. Why is it inappropriate for us to go into someone's yard? I think that would be pretty self-explanatory, but there are people who would ask.
It's private property. We cannot do things on private property. We've actually had someone contact us and ask us if we could come out and remove the horse that died
Yeah.
in their pasture.
Yeah.
It's private property.
Yeah.
So we can't do that.
All right, so private property, we can't come into your yard and take a deer out. So we also said litter and debris. Of course,
Yes.
that's fairly self-explanatory, though we do get different levels of litter and debris. I mean, are we talking about a Walmart sack or are we talking about a refrigerator?
All the above. There are locations that it's
Receive both.
yeah, it's kind of it has been something that we have really focused on. We know that the public likes the aesthetics to be pleasing, and there are a lot of the urban areas that there is a lot of trash, and you can clean it up, and the wind blows and tomorrow it doesn't look like it's been touched. However, there's also the locations that have refrigerators and a freezer and a television, mattresses. We get calls for mattresses lots.
Yeah.
Somebody lost their sofa.
Their cushions the other day in northern Indiana, and our gentlemen, our crew, or not just gentlemen, our ladies as well, our crews went out there and looked for the cushions for this customer.
Oh yeah. So I mean, there's lots. So the process though is it's the same as if you call in a pothole. We'll go out, investigate, see where it's at in the roadway, same as with a deer or something like that. And then the urgency is based on where it's at
Absolutely.
in the roadway. Okay.
Our main priority is anything in the road and anything that could cause an accident are most urgent. And then anything outside of the road and not going to cause an accident or very unlikely to are things we can plan around the urgent items. Because you have to remember, our maintenance personnel are not just only waiting for the call center to create work requests.
That's a great point.
They actually have
A full plate.
full plate. We are only 50% of what they do.
And they do try to add us into their work plan when they can plan for it. But, I mean, they may be pulled off a job to go and pick something up. And I think that's a very important distinction to make. It's not like people are just sitting around waiting for people to call in.
Nope, that's correct.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
know our next issue is, roadway maintenance issue investigations.
And there's a lot to unpack with that, but we're going to hit the cliff notes for you.
Yeah. So that, in a nutshell, is basically an issue that's larger than just one pothole.
Yeah.
If there's more than one pothole in one specific area, that's a roadway maintenance issue investigation. If a road looks like it's deteriorating, if it looks like there's a drop in the road called a dropped slab, I know we've talked about that on a previous podcast.
We talked about that
Yeah.
last time you guys were on.
Yeah, these are issues that need investigation because the repair to them is more than just a quick patch. It may be that we have to completely tear out a chunk of road and repave it, or a contract has to be planned and then paid for, and then completed. Or it could be that maybe we just need our engineers to make sure that maybe a piece of drainage needs corrected, and then our maintenance guys can do that repair and then do a patch and have it over with. It really depends. And when you see these sections of roadway that we like to describe as deteriorating or gravel-like, maybe a little bumpy, you don't know what the issue is. It could just be that maybe the asphalt wasn't crack sealed appropriately, and so it's in an area that receives a lot of winter weather, or maybe there is a drainage tile or culvert under the road in that area that is corroded or not working appropriately. So there's water degrading, maybe not the structure of the road, but the asphalt itself, the top layer.
And we've had the issues where we've had, and maybe not to reopen this wound, but we've had issues with pavement mix on some of our projects in the past.
Sure.
And in that case, that might not even be an INDOT issue to take care of. That might be a contractor thing that we hold them responsible for.
Correct.
So, there's lots of different things. And it's like Kelcie said, you never know exactly what's going on. And if it's not as simple as a quick pothole patch, it could be any number of things. It's like we talked about earlier. Is it the light bulb? Is it the wiring? Is it the switch? Is it is the grid,
electricity?
Is the grid wrong? There's more to it than what can be simple fix. So I think that was a great way to explain that, by the way. So, all right, we're running out of time. We got just a couple minutes left, but so we've hit our top 5 issues, but we've got a big one coming up, and I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's Indiana, so let's let the snow fly, y'all. So, talk a little bit about our response for winter weather. We talked about the science of winter weather last month. Now let's talk about our response.
Winter operations is a big deal. The districts are already working on making sure the equipment is sound, getting the salt, getting everything prepped and ready while construction's still going on. When customers call us, they will ask for salt to be delivered to a specific location that either for whatever reason it's slick. We will get calls asking when the plows will be out.
Oh my.
And typically our routes are 3-hour routes. And we, will let people know, that when there's a full call out, the trucks are out. If they don't see them in 3 hours, call us back, because we can reach out to, our district teams to, get information. We provide them information.
And if there's an emergency, we can pull somebody off of a route.
Absolutely. And do. It happens all the time. I think our LaPorte team definitely are professional.
Fort
goodness.
Wayne, absolutely. Yeah. They're professionals at snow plowing at this point.
Yeah, they have a great sense of humor about it. So we all appreciate that because it's necessary. So yeah, that's it's being prepped for. So we know it's coming, and the only good thing about winter weather is construction's over.
That's very true. It's like it's out of the frying pan and into the fire, quite honestly.
Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on real fast before we jump off, we often get requests for sand. And as a state, we don't use sand anymore, correct? So how do we respond to that customer?
We notify them why we don't use sand. And one of the reasons why is because it's an inferior product when you're trying to talk about providing traction to a roadway. There are other items that we use, especially the type of rock salt that we use on our roads, depending on the temperature, that is, that are a lot better for traction. And for that reason, we choose not to use sand, because if you think about it, if you put sand down on a road and then you have a semi truck driving 60 miles an hour and it's 22 degrees out, so there is some ice, they're not able to stop as fast as a 4-door sedan. And that rock salt that we use actually is much better at providing the traction that is needed for those types of tires than sand is, because it's just a finer grit aggregate. And it's also not as appropriate environmentally. I mean, I know there is a lot of controversy about the amount, of sodium that we're putting into our soils because of salt. But sand itself is, again, a fine aggregate. And when that is on our roads, where does it go? It goes into our sewer drains. It goes into our culverts. It goes into our waterways. And it does cause blocks. That can cause issues to property that is private property.
Cause one of those drainage issues that we hear so much about so frequently.
Yeah.
And also, like, just to add on to what you're saying, sand also has zero properties to melt ice.
Yes, also.
So, all right, well, perfect. Thank you all so much for being on. This has been super informative, and I hope the public has liked it. Now, just want to say, let's go eat some dinner or something, because we're all here together in Indianapolis. But so thank you for taking time to be here and taking time out of our peer group. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope the listeners have enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
I
Thank
loved
you so
it.
much.
This has been On the DOT, a production of the Indiana Department of Transportation. For more information, please visit our website at indot.in.gov. For the latest updates on road conditions or construction, you can download our INDOT mobile app for Apple and Android devices. Submit your roadway concerns by calling 1-855-INDOT-FOR-YOU or online at indot4u.com. Find all of that information in the description of this episode. Full episodes of On the DOT are available on YouTube by searching for INDOT. You can also follow INDOT and all 6 of our districts on Facebook and Twitter. If you like what you're hearing, please be sure to leave us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. Join us again every third Thursday for new episodes of On the DOT. Until then, travel safely, and thank you for joining us on the DOT.